Good afternoon. My name is Travis Owens with Cherokee Nation Cultural Tourism, and today I'm joined with Cherokee Nation artist Vivian Garner Cottrell, our featured artist at Saline Courthouse Museum, newly opened museum in Rose, Oklahoma. Vivian began her art of basketry at 13 years old. It's been her life's work, her art, and her way to showcase her family's heritage. Vivian was recognized in 1995 as a Cherokee National Treasure and has received numerous awards through her career. Vivian, let's begin with those early years. You were just 13 years old when you started, right?
Yes.
So was that a natural passion for you, or how did that evolve?
Oh, really, it was more so. Mom, she was just retired, and I was a teenager, so she sat me down and grabbed some reed, and she goes, "I'm going to show you how to make our double wall baskets." And she taught me out of the commercial reed, and it just, that became our bond. That you didn't see one without the other with our baskets. So it just flourished. It was also my high school job, living in Tahlequah, where the part-time jobs for high schoolers were very competitive. So my mother suggested that I weave baskets and we'll sell them, and that would be your money. And so that's how that all began. I started using honeysuckle right then, maybe my senior year. And it's been a passion for me all my life since then. I consider myself a generational basket weaver. My great-grandfather was Thomas Corntassel. He was a Baptist minister, a marshal, and a store owner. He owned a store in this little community of Adelaide, which is west of Westville. And he would do the bottoms of the ladder back chairs in white oak. And then my grandmother would weave, but not as much. She had an injury with her hands, and I didn't see her weave as much, but she did. And then my mother, my aunts, and myself. And my mother taught my children to weave. And it just seemed to blossom whenever we went to my mom's home. I had the children, my children. I have 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. And we would meet with their cousin, my nephew, and my mother would have a blue suitcase. We would weave in this one area of the house, in the den, and they all had to come in and watch us weave. So my mom had the blue suitcase just for them, and they would come in, and she had everything in there, feathers, all sorts of arts and craft items, and they began their interest in art through that. When it came to weaving, Mary, my daughter, was very talented, and she was entering shows, youth competitions. And she was very successful. So we'd be sitting there, my mom and I, and other ones, they say, "Oh, your daughter's showing you up." But, and she was very interested. My oldest son, Brian, he couldn't really make a basket very well. So my mom gave him a pencil, and, maybe he can draw. And he took off with that. His journey has been in art, has been an adventure. I was very blessed to watch that. And he's a Cherokee artist as well. He was a teacher. He taught for 13 years, art in public and private school. And my daughter, she's also she's more of a painter now, and so is my youngest son. He draws too, but their interest, I have to attribute that to my mother where she had it all available for them. And it's been a treat watching them throughout the years. And I've been weaving all my life. So I went from the round reed. My mom was a white oak weaver. She, when it's flat reed, and she would go out and get her trees. She'd split it, and I watched her. I'd help her, but my interest and my favorite was the round reed, the honeysuckle and buckbrush. With honeysuckle, I made our double walls. And the other weavers around too would encourage me to make my baskets with my own style. You know, that if I go into a gift shop or gallery and look at the baskets, I could tell just by their weaving and their style who made that basket. And so one of my little trades that I would weave a basket with a lid, and in the lid I would weave a buckeye inside there. And so that was my little trademark with the honeysuckle. Buckbrush, I made cradles. I like baby cradles or the wall plaques. I would make the wall plates with those.
Thank you for sharing that about your family, and it's been a joy to, see your family's art through the years, just the time I've known you all, and to kind of watch the growth and notoriety of you and your family. Tell me a little bit about, you talked about those early years selling those baskets here locally. Now your baskets are known around, the world and carried in museums and sought after by collectors. So what was that like for you to start out at an early age selling baskets locally, and now to see your baskets, being in museums? What's that been like for you?
It was a little overwhelming at first. Growing up, I really just stuck with the local gift shops. And that was all available. That was the only thing available at that time. The first art show I attended was in '92. So I had been weaving almost 20 years at that point. And we just brought our honeysuckle baskets. That was it. Our table was full, and we came close to selling out. Then we had several different, I guess they were groups of people coming through Oklahoma City at that time, and they were from other countries, and they purchased most of them. So I knew that they were up in England or up in the Asian area. It's nice. I have my mother's probably given more baskets away than she has sold. And I was like that too. I would weave something, and they would go to families. With the collectors, for me, it's easier for me to weave something and from what I feel when I weave a basket. There's weaving together with my mom. We talked all the time and shared, and a lot of prayers went into the baskets. We would have different situations with family, friends, the community, and that has been part of my weaving. Is when I weave, I always have prayer. I'm always in prayer, and to do a commission piece, it's a little more difficult because it's like you've got to have it certain ways and certain dimensions, height, or whatever. I'll get it done, and it's still the same thing. But doing a commission piece is a little more difficult for me than just weaving, putting it out there. And I have a lot of compliments on my basketry, and that really makes me feel good, because I'm my own worst critic. I'm like, the standard question, well, how do you like that basket? It's okay. It's always my standard. It's okay. It's okay. But, I'm honored that people appreciate my work, that it's in a collection. So yeah, I'm smiling.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's interesting to hear you talk about 1992. You talked about going to some of those shows in Oklahoma City and that. But just 3 years later, in 1995, you were named a Cherokee National Treasure for basketry. So take us back to that day. We were talking earlier, and it didn't sound like you quite got a call. But take us back to that day and tell us a little bit about that and what that felt like. To be named, I think just a few years after your mother had received the same recognition.
Right. And my mother was recognized as a national treasure in 1993. And my understanding, I was working at that time in a CPA office. I was an accountant. And I received a phone call. And this was in 93. And they asked me, are you coming to the Cherokee holiday? And I said, yes, I always come to the Cherokee holiday. I bring my mother, we sit out there, watch the parade, then we turn our chairs, we watch, we listen to the Chief's State of the Nation address. And then I always bring her. Well, good, because she's going to be recognized as a national treasure, or a master craftsman in that time. And I thought, okay, I'll do that. And we did, and it was a surprise. She was there, and I'm trying to film her, and she's just watching, she's listening. And then it was so precious moment when they called her. And it was similar. My sister called me in 95 at work. Viv, are you going to take Mom to the holiday? And I'm like, no, I'm not. You take her this year. And she goes, no, you got to take her. And I said, no, I don't. I take her every year, and you don't. So we have sort of had a little rift there, and we're going back and forth. And she said, no, well, you're not supposed to know, but you have to be there because you're going to be a master craftsman. They're going to honor you as a master craftsman in basketry. And I'm like, I didn't know what to think. At that time, I was 36, and I'm thinking, I'm not ready for this, am I? I've been weaving for over 20 years, probably about 23 years, something like that. And to me, I thought, I have to be Mom's age or the elder age for that, and it was just overwhelming. And I've always been honored to represent Cherokee in our basketry whenever we attend different functions and art markets. So.
That's great. Well, talk a little bit about, what it means to be a national treasure, because, you're one of the national treasure basket makers, and obviously you've been doing this. This is a life's work for you. What does it mean for you in the community to carry that title? You serve in other roles as well. You're also on the National Treasures Advisory Committee. So you really kind of carried the torch for national treasures. So what does that mean for you in the community, and what does that mean for you as a basket maker?
As a basket maker, I follow so many noted basket makers, Cherokee basket makers. I've known, they've gone on, we've shared information, our knowledge, and it's always been that way. As a national treasure, I try to promote, our knowledge. I want to pass that on. I teach. When we go to the different art shows, markets, that's, someone will ask me a question, and I'll keep them there for an hour because they really don't know the information just for Cherokee or Southeastern basketry is not well known. So that's my opportunity to educate them on how we weave. Especially, we went to the Abbey Museum a couple of years ago, and they make beautiful black ash baskets. But when they saw the the honeysuckle baskets, the oak, and the river cane. They were asking so many questions about our work and how we would weave. And I shared that information with them too. Just everywhere I go, I try to be an ambassador for our people and for our basketry. And, just hope that, and I with the double weave, especially with the river cane basketry, I would love to have that knowledge spread. So I'm teaching, I do demonstrations, and it's not easy. It's the double weave, the river cane double weave is our most traditional. That's, the early explorers saw the Cherokee, the southeastern tribes, weaving the river cane as our everything. We used it for everything, utilitarian, food storage, food prep. Even the mats were used for floor covering, for seating, and so it's it's easy to share with others when they just, you can see it in their eyes when they ask the question, especially the children. And so.
Well, that's a good segue. We've got a couple of questions from our social media audience. So one of them comes from, I think it's Marilyn Mickles on Instagram, and she wants to know, how do you start teaching young children the traditional way to do basketry? They've got a homeschool family, and just kind of wondering how they can get engaged in basket making as well.
Okay. Let's see, if homeschool with the honeysuckle, to me that's more, that's easier to teach. My mom taught my children with honeysuckle. She taught me with commercial, and that you can use that too. Commercial reed is less expensive, less time consuming. When you start working with the natural materials, you can do that. You can go out and in the fall, if you go out in the spring, it's too early. The reed will collapse on you. But the commercial reed would be easier to teach for homeschooling. Commercial dyes, and it's for homeschooling, I guess you could probably contact someone right now in this era. We're social distancing. It could very well work on a Zoom, that type of, if she wanted to contact a weaver to help with that.
Great, thank you. And so we probably have time for one more question, and I know this is one we were talking about earlier, which I think you told me the general answer is it varies. But Thomas on Facebook, he was asking, how much time does it take for an average basket, including prep work and materials?
Okay. Oh, the prep work. Well, it depends on the size. If you're going to, can I lift this? For this type of basket, this is a double weave river cane, and it starts with 96 splints. That's approximately, I'd say 15 to 20 river cane stalks that you would have to split and peel, which is a process in itself. For me, at this time, it would take me 2 weeks just to prepare the reed, to split it, to peel it, do a double peel, and then to dye it would probably take me about 3 or 4 days. The black walnut root is what I use. It gives a darker brown. It's a 2-day dye, all day. Where we live, it's a no burn, so you have to. It takes 2 days just for that. Another 2 days for the bloodroot, for the orange. The weaving is easy, but to make a medium, size double weave river cane, just one, it would probably take about 3 weeks' time.
Wow.
I don't do it that way. I have a season where I go out and get all the river cane that I'll need for about 4 or 5 months in the fall and the winter time. And then that's all I do is split and peel. And the same thing with the white oak and honeysuckle and buckbrush. I gather all that, and with the honeysuckle buckbrush, we'll put it up in coils and keep it until the weaving starts really late March, April, and I have to weave throughout that time. And I start with my big baskets first because that's my long splints, and then as I weave with the river cane, the baskets get smaller into miniature. And then I weave with other materials when I run out of the river cane or the honeysuckle, the white oak and buckbrush. I'll use black ash to weave, and that's what I call my commercial because I don't go to the woods to get that.
Very good. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today. And Vivian, I thank you so much for joining us. I know we're very socially distant. I think we're 20 feet or more apart right now. But if you want to get a chance to check out some of Vivian's work, her exhibit From Her Mother's Hands is on display now at the Saline Courthouse Museum in Rose, Oklahoma. That's on display through October 24th. Her work will also be available as part of the exhibition for purchase. We'll post a link below, and you can take a chance to if you're interested in her work, take a chance to purchase some of it online if you're not able to go see her exhibit in person. So we thank you today, and we thank you for Vivian for joining us.
Oh, thank you.